around you tonight. Okay, John Keane from Lanigan, Saskatchewan, via Swift Current. He's at John Keane NL Sports on Twitter, and he does the Blaze podcast. Keener, did you guys have tackle football back in your day in Lanigan?
No, we did not. I don't know why. A town of about 1,500, and the best we could muster up was like flag football in middle school. That's all we could do. So I'd love to reminisce about all these great high school football players I played with and against, but I won't be able to add much into your conversation today, fellas. Sorry.
What about when we worked in Swift Current together? And, the SWAC?
I'm not sure the Colts won a game when I was in Swift. I know they're a powerhouse now. But, Barney, you and I used to hit the road and do those SWAC football broadcasts on CJSN down in Shaunavon. And a couple of names that came to my mind were the Gull Lake the Gull Lake Lions. Is that what they were?
Yeah.
Remember the running back, Joe McGee? He would just go wild every game. Yeah.
Was it John McGee?
It was Joe.
Joe McGee?
I think it was Joe. Yeah, I think there was a bunch of McGees. And they just handed the ball off to him, and he just ran the length of the field. They wouldn't touch him if it was flag football, and they would win the SWAC title again. That's what they did.
I am so glad that you remembered that name, John, because I was trying to think of the running back from Gull Lake. That was amazing. Oh, solid.
Hey, I remember all the stories when we used to work together here. You probably don't, but I remember them all, okay?
Yeah. And then remember Fred Farnsworth. He was like a radio guy at CJSN or whatever, and he would always say, "The Gull Lake Lions, they don't rebuild, they don't
rebuild, they reload."
Yeah, they don't rebuild, they reload.
Yeah.
And they
were a powerhouse.
That was my first, foray into 9-man or 6-man, whatever it was. And the athleticism on the kids, I was like, well, no wonder so many of these kids go on to play Hilltops and, junior football and whatnot. Okay, we'll put football on the side. Keener, if you come up with any other names, let them fly.
Think about it.
This is, how many years have you been calling Western Hockey League action now?
It's like 22, 3, I don't know, something like that. Yeah.
This year a little bit different in the fact with this NCAA and the McQueens, the McKennas, and so on, Reshneys, all that going down. Is it different? And are you seeing the change where there's so many Americans now coming up to play in the league?
Yeah, no doubt. In my time, this has been the strangest offseason. You're so used to knowing what you're getting back, and the only real hurdle you had is if the NHL team was going to keep your player at 18 or 19. Otherwise, you knew that he was coming back. And it's there's some wins and some losses throughout the league. You mentioned those names as well. But some teams have done fairly well on the other side of it. There's going to be years where teams are going to feel good about what they have, and there's going to be years where they just feel like their top line and their top defenseman got taken from them. And we'll see how this all plays out. It's year one. But, I can just reference here in Kamloops, the Blazers were able to recruit perhaps the top 2008-born American forward, J.P. Hurlburt, who led the preseason in goals for first-year players. He's out of Allen, Texas. He could be a potential first-round NHL pick. So, you mentioned the players on one side of it, guys, but on the other side of it, you can see some wins. If you are able to recruit some of these guys.
Yeah, that's a definite, as you get into the season here and you had camp, with the American kids coming up, families, and I'm sure, Kamloops is a nice place to lay your head for sure. But you mentioned a kid from Dallas, Texas. There's some kids that are going to be coming up with their families to some of these smaller communities in the Western Hockey League and the CHL in general, where it's nice right now, but hey, give us a shout back mid-February when you're on the bus for 8 hours.
Yeah, you know what? I would say that, I've seen some rosters. Prince Albert landed a really good one that maybe Nick Nielsen will tell you about a little bit later on. American player Heisey Prince George was just down for preseason games, and hey, I love Prince George, but that's wouldn't be my favorite destination in the middle of wintertime. They had 3 or 4 Americans as well on their roster, so that's one of the furthest outposts you could imagine. And some of these franchises have done pretty well so far, at least getting in the camp, and if they're talented enough, signing that WHL contract.
John, do you think that this exodus and this concern over this will just be a kind of a flash in the pan and we'll lose momentum over once a few years have gone by? Or do you think it's sustainable and this is the future now?
I don't know. That's a good question. We really don't know where this is going. And at some point, you'd have to think that Hockey Canada will say enough is enough of our top 18-year-old players leaving our country and going to play NCAA. I just don't see that as a permanent thing that Hockey Canada is going to swallow for the end of time. So how do they counter that? What do they do? Is there some sort of monetary, number available for some of these players if they play World Juniors, let's say? Is there money on the table for some of these first-round draft picks to keep them at 18, 19? At some point, push is going to come to shove and say, hey, we can't have our top guys going. Now guys are maybe even speeding up that high school process. So they could be eligible. We see Keaton Verhoff at 17, who will be a first-round NHL pick, go to UND from the Victoria Royals. So I think at some point it's going to swing back the other way. But it's just a matter of what are they going to do to counteract sort of this free-for-all that we're seeing. And, I'm not saying it's good or it's bad, guys. I mean, I didn't sign up for the top players in the WHL to check out at 18 or 19, but I think we're going to see, some sort of counteractive measure that'll go in place here in the next year or two to try and retain some of these top guys.
Verhoff's only 17 and he's going?
Yeah.
Because one of the things I was going to ask is there an age limit to be attending in NCAA?
You have to be eligible for NCAA school. Like you have to finish high school and be able to get your grades and submitted, right? So you need to actually be finished high school. But that said, we're seeing some players and some people sort of expedite that high school process so they can be eligible quicker.
And that was kind of my next question was, what is it going to take for the pendulum to swing back the other way? Is it going to be a financial thing? Like, is the CHL going to have to become creative and think of ways to incentivize kids to stay? Like, have you heard anything in terms of just even anecdotally, like, hey, what about this? Is that kind of out of the box thinking in order to retain these kids?
Well, I mean, just for example, money is talking a lot here, guys. Like you can talk about, you can talk about Gavin McKenna and Medicine Hat and what's the best developmental path and all that stuff. But when someone lands a $750,000 American check in your agent's pocket, what are you going to do, right? And some of the going rates or some of the other players, maybe some of the depth players that have left, the number isn't known for sure, but we're talking probably $40,000, $50,000 for some of these other guys. And how expensive hockey is through the academies and through all of that here. If there's an opportunity, money talks, guys. If the competition down the street offered you, $30,000 more, you probably take it, right? That's just life. So I think when it comes down to it, dollars are going to be dollars. So do you compensate players? Those World Junior tournaments make a lot of money when they're hosted in Canada. Yeah. Is there a bit of a fund there that could be tapped into to say, okay, we can maybe compensate some of our players if they make Canada's World Junior team, or look at some other creative ways to try and, find a way to retain some players, even if it, costs some dollars.
John Keen's
What about
John Keen's joining us on the Western Pizza guest hotline, voice of the Kamloops Blazers, and he also does the Blaze podcast. Harry, go ahead, because I can leave mine for last.
I guess in that vein, what about, and this has just popped into my head, so I haven't fleshed it out. What if they made it prohibitive if you weren't playing in the CHL to play on the World Juniors? Would that be punishing Hockey Canada? Would that be punishing Canada's junior team? Or what if that was a wrinkle or a caveat where if you're playing south of the border, you're ineligible for World Juniors?
Yeah, it's something to look at, right? But I just don't know. You have to look at, what's the unintended consequences of that, right? Like, obviously Canada measures our value as a nation of winning gold medals in the Olympics and world junior titles for whatever reason, right? This is our game. It's our identity. And I don't know if you want to start getting into that, but there seemed to be a lot of money around the COVID times for sport and things like that from the government. Like, this is just me saying this, like, if hockey is so important to our national identity, well, then maybe it's on some sort of government, dime to support this. Like these NCAA teams have huge financial backing. I mean, a lot of it is from taxpayers. A lot of it is from their state or whatever, or municipal. A lot of it's from donors, from the alumni. These junior hockey teams don't have those sort of deep pockets when it comes to raising things up. So this is just throw things on the wall and see where it sticks, but we'll see if there is some changes on that front.
Last one for me, John, here is I was following your Twitter thread the other day, and very interesting. It was Jeff Merrick. That are you hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, that the CHL is starting to maybe play a game where NCAA scouts and not letting them into rooms or access to teams in some places?
Well, I think what they've done is they've left it up to each individual team to decide the access that NCAA recruiters have. And the story you're referencing was, some teams in the CHL will no longer be providing a scouts pass or a game pass for some of these recruiters. Do I think I don't think that's the right way to go about it. They said they want to say, hey, buy a ticket if you want to watch these players that you're after. But I think what I think a lot of people are taking exception of is, you guys know how sacred a hockey dressing room is, right? I mean, it's sacred ground. And I don't know, maybe they do this in the USHL or the NAHL or one of those other, we call them 4-letter leagues. But I don't know if you just march in and say like, hey, with your clipboard and be like, just right after the coach is done and be like, Stevens, Thompson, come with me. Like, I don't know if that's the way they do it down there, but I know heck that they don't do that way in the Western League. Okay. So I think that's what we were seeing. We were seeing some of these recruiters like just kick the door in and be like, hey, I'm here to save the day, everybody. Come chat with me out in the hallway. So I think that's where we saw a lot of these issues, that we're seeing a reactionary approach from the CHL.
Okay. And then last one, this is a quick one. Do you think Maddox Schultz and his agent have been approached already?
Well, I mean, I think there's a certain age group where you're not allowed to approach someone. I think it's something about their 16th birthday. I don't know the legalities of that. I'm not versed on the NCAA recruiting side based on my junior hockey loyalties, but I'm sure. I mean, Landon DuPont down in Everett.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot of talk over the next few years here to see where it goes.
Always a pleasure, Keener. Thanks for making time off to do this again quick. Safe travels as you get the season fired up there. We appreciate it. And thanks again for dropping Joe or John McGee's name. It saved me a lot of head work.
I'm happy it didn't take me much longer here because, I'm probably already 2 holes behind. I got to go catch up to the group here. So I'll be the guy running down the fairway with the golf clubs here to catch up on the 3rd hole.